In this exercise, we are going to start with this video. And we will end up with this result. So we are going to focus on the face of this model and make everything else black and white and blurry. I go to After Effects, right click here, import file. I go to exercise 8. I double click the video. Now I'm gonna drag and drop the video right here on the composition logo, and just like that I created a composition based on this video, and the composition is about 15 seconds long. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create an adjustment layer. I right click here, new adjustment layer. I'm gonna go to effects and presets. I'm gonna look for black and white under color correction, black and white, and drag and drop. Make sure the adjustment layer is selected. I want to apply the effect to the adjustment layer and not the video. It's very important. Now I'm gonna look for the effect, Gaussian blur, under blur and sharpen right here, Gaussian blur. I'm gonna drag and drop like this, and I'm gonna change the blurriness from 0 to 10. Adjustment layer still selected. I'm gonna create a mask using the ellipse tool. The playhead is at 0 seconds. I zoom in and I'm gonna create a mask like this. I go to selection tool. I'm gonna double click one of the points. I'm gonna rotate the mask like this. Make it a little bit bigger here. I'm gonna place it like this. Here, mask 1, I'm gonna toggle this down. I go to mask feather. I'm gonna set the feather to 30. And the most important thing, I click on inverted to invert the effect. And just like that, we get this result. Now, the face of this model is colored and sharp, and everything else is black and white and blurry. Now, I go to mask path. Make sure the playhead is at 0 seconds. I go to mask path. I click on the stopwatch. I create one keyframe here. Then I'm gonna move the playhead. Gonna zoom out a little bit. I'll move the playhead until we reach somewhere right here, 10 seconds. And from here, the camera doesn't move much. I'm gonna put the playhead at 10 seconds. And I'm gonna modify the mask path. I double click on one of the points one more time, and I'm gonna make the mask bigger like this. I'll make it bigger and I rotate it. I'll move it right here. I'm gonna make it even bigger like this, wider. Make sure it covers the head and the neck. It's very important. Now let's go back. I'm gonna move the playhead from 0 seconds to 10 seconds. We notice it doesn't follow perfectly the face. That's why we need to create more keyframes. I'm gonna go to 1 second and I have to double click one more time. I'm gonna make it smaller like this. I'm gonna move the playhead a little bit, 2 seconds. And make sure it matches the face. Gonna make it a little bit wider from here. I'll move the playhead a little bit. Double click on one of the points and modify the shape of the mask like this. I'm gonna do this for every second, just to make sure the mask perfectly follows the face like this. I'm gonna move the playhead here, double click, modify like this. I'm gonna make it wider here and wider here, a little bit longer. I move the playhead, double click, move the mask, make it a little bit smaller here, a little bit smaller here. Gonna rotate it a little bit, move to 6 seconds, double click, gonna make it a little bit smaller from here, rotate it a little bit here. I move the playhead, 7 seconds, double click. I'm gonna move the mask right here, make it a little bit longer. I move the playhead, 8 seconds, double click. I'm gonna move the mask right here, gonna make it a little bit bigger. I move to 9 seconds. I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger like this and a little bit longer. That's it. We go to 10 seconds. And then from here, the camera doesn't move much. At 12 seconds, I'm gonna double click and move it a little bit to the right, like this. Here, the camera moves a little bit. I'm gonna double click and move the mask a little bit here. And I go to the end. From here, I go to the end of the composition. I'm gonna double click and move the mask a little bit here. Now the mask perfectly matches the face of the model. Oh, there's a problem here. I'm gonna double click. I'm gonna move it a little bit here. I create one more keyframe here. Move it like this. And continue. Right here, I'm gonna create one more keyframe, double click. I'm gonna make it a little bit longer, a little bit wider, just to cover this part of the hair. Like this. I keep going right here. I'm gonna double click. I'm gonna move the mask a little bit up, like this. I continue. Now I think it matches perfectly. I'm gonna full screen and play the entire video now. The exercise now is finished. You go do the same and don't forget to save.